Welcome to Bodacious Estate Conversations, the podcast where we skip the polite small talk and get straight to the real story about handling a loved one's property. From unexpected challenges to the messy emotions nobody warns you about, I bring you unfiltered stories, practical advice, and clever shortcuts from people who've been there and the professionals who know the way. If you want honest answers, bold strategies, and the confidence to take control, you're in the right place. Here is your host, Casey King.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. On today's episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations, I'm excited to chat with a woman with over 20 years experience protecting homeowners and advocating for real estate integrity. She spent her career helping families navigate property transitions, avoid scams, and safeguard their assets. She's currently the CEO of the Realtors Association of York and Adams County. Outside of work, she is deeply involved in her community, mentoring youth in Little League and serving on many local boards focused on economic development and housing initiatives. Let's give a warm welcome to Shanna Terroso. Thrilled to have you on Bodacious Estate Conversations.
Hi, Casey. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. So today is going to be so awesome. So we're going to talk about real estate scams, how homeowners can protect themselves, and stick around until the end to hear how the most surprising scams are happening in today's environment and how to avoid them. All right. So let's get right into it. What is happening? I mean, there's so many commercials out there today saying that people's land is being stolen from them and their houses are being refinanced without them knowing. How is this happening?
Yeah, unfortunately, the real estate industry has been plagued with scams for decades and decades. And one of the things that we are currently seeing right now in York and Adams counties is our scammers are targeting vacant land. So, what these scammers are doing is they are posing as the owner of record of these vacant parcels of land, and then they're contacting real estate agents and getting real estate agents to list those properties for sale because the real estate agent believes they're actually speaking with the owner of record on the property. These scammers have become so sophisticated. So they are creating fraudulent documents, whether that be fake passports, fake driver's licenses from other states that match the owner of record's information. And it appears by all cases to be the owner of record when it is actually not them. So, what they have done is they'll get the realtor to list the property for sale in the hopes that they will go under contract and eventually get to the settlement table and abscond the funds from the unknowing buyers who thought they were purchasing the property from the actual owner when they did not, and now they've lost thousands of dollars in what would have when they thought they were purchasing a vacant parcel of land.
That's so crazy to me. So the person that's not the owner, that's posing as the owner to sell, do they have to show up in person to sign over documents?
So that is a great question. So in real estate transactions, you are able to do things electronically. And that is the problem. So that's the number one thing that when we are talking to our real estate agents is if this owner of record is not willing to meet with you in person or show their face in either a Zoom platform or any type of FaceTime, any type of communications where you be able to physically interact with one another like we are right now, that's a big red flag that they are potentially a scammer. And they come up with some very reasonable reasons as to why they're not able to meet with you in person. They're battling cancer, they're in the hospital, they're older senior citizens, are not used to technology. They don't know how to do those different types of technological platforms to meet with you. But huge red flag is if there are reasons why they can't meet with you in person and they won't show you their face on any type of these Zoom communications, they're probably a scammer when it comes to vacant land.
Oh man. So I mean, obviously my heart goes out to the owners of the land that's essentially having it taken from them, but then also the buyer. Like the buyer thinks that they're going to get this parcel and maybe build a house or do something with that piece of property. And like, if it comes to light that, hey, this wasn't a legit transaction, are they able to get their funds back? I mean, is it just gone?
So that's, a really great question. So fortunately, we have been lucky here in York and Adams counties that these scams have been stopped before the money has exchanged hands. In one of the cases, I know it was one day before settlement, before they discovered that the person who they thought was the actual seller was not. But there has been a pretty highly publicized case in the state of Connecticut where the seller of the property was working with an attorney. So everything seemed above board, and the law firm was scammed and thinking that they were working with the actual owner of the property to sell it. So they sold it to buyers, it went to settlement, the new buyers started constructing, went through the permitting process, were constructing, had the frame up on their new house, and then it was discovered by the actual owner of the property that there was a house being built on his vacant land because he lived out of state. And when he came back into town, I believe for a class reunion, he found out from one of his high school friends that there was a new house being built on his property. He had no idea. So in that particular case, they had to take down the new construction, return the land as is. I mean, there was some serious financial consequences outside of just the land purchase that happened there on behalf of the buyers. Now, I don't know the formal results of that. I assume they filed with their title insurance to help cover and, retain some of those funds back, but just a huge, huge legal mess, all through unknowing parties. So just awful what happened there.
That is crazy. So my title company now requires, because of all of this coming to light, a minimum of 3 weeks to get from the time title is ordered to get to the closing table, and they need that extra week. For those that don't know, it typically takes about 2 weeks for title to come back. But they require that extra week to give them time to actually reach out and find the real owner of the property through, oddly enough, snail mail. They'll send a letter out saying, "Hey, we're about to make this transaction. You need to call us if and confirm." Is everybody doing that, or is that just something certain title companies are doing? Is it mandatory, and do you think it should be if it's not?
So I think many of our title companies have become so aware of this issue that they are taking those extra precautions on their own because they don't want to ever see a consumer be in these situations and their company be a part of it. So it's great to see that so many of our title companies are taking those extra steps to ensure that the person who's selling the property is actually the person who's selling the property. So we're very fortunate there. And some other things that we have encouraged our own realtor members is RAYAC offers as a membership benefit a product called Forewarn. And so what Forewarn is, it allows you to search for when someone calls you, real estate can be a dangerous industry because every day we're getting calls from folks we don't know, consumers we don't know who either want to buy property or when they sell their property. So we want to ensure that we know who we're talking to when they're calling us. So with the Forewarn app, it allows you to search phone numbers and who's associated with that phone number to make sure that the person, when they're calling you and they say who they are, actually is who they say that they are. So that helps to add another layer of protection there that we encourage our realtor members to do. So if you get a call from this person and they say, that they're Henry Smith, the owner of this vacant land, and they go and they search that number in Forewarn and it doesn't show up that this phone number is associated with a Henry Smith, is a pretty telltale sign that this is a scammer posing as Henry Smith. So that's one of the ways that we're helping to provide protections for our members to ensure that the person they're speaking with is actually who they say they are.
Yeah, I am a licensed agent and a member of RAYAC. I definitely use Forewarn for those very situations, and I like how it tells you like if there's any criminal history. Like majority of the time, if there is, it's just like speeding tickets, and you're like, okay, whatever. But then every once in a while, you'll see one with a violent history, and you're like, okay, I'm not going on this appointment by myself at the very least, if at all. I do appreciate it. So it's funny. I had a person call me once that wanted to see a house. He had a very thick accent, which doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but it was a stranger. I never, met him in person. Said he was coming from far away. And whenever I go to an appointment with somebody that I've never met before, I tell them in order to confirm their appointment, I need for them to text me a picture of their photo ID before we'll meet in person. And so he did that, no problem there. And then I looked up his phone number on Forewarn, and the name from the phone number and the name on the card and the name he gave me were like three completely different names. I'm like, what is happening here? And it was like this whole story then how, well, actually, it's for a friend that's going to come with us, but he doesn't speak great English. So I'm going to translate for him. And he's the one that's pre approved. And I don't know. It was just a very odd, confusing thing, which I ended up not going on that appointment just because it was very odd, like the whole thing, like none of it really added up.
And your gut was probably telling you something's off.
Right.
And September is Realtor Safety Month, so we're in the throes of trying to educate our members on how to be safe out there. Is if your gut is telling you there's something off, listen to it because it's almost always accurate. So
Yeah. So, okay. So vacant land, that's prevalent. What about the refinance thing? So I'm seeing a lot of commercials on TV talking about that.
So one of the things I would also share with the members of the public that both for refinancing and these vacant land scams is both York and Adams County recorder of deeds offices offer this free service for members of the public where you can sign up to receive notifications if there's ever anything recorded against your property. So if someone does try to take out a loan against your property, it has to be recorded through the recorder of deeds office. You would get a notification for that. If someone tries to transfer the property by, passing the deed on to somebody else, it has to be recorded through the recorder of deeds office and you would get notified of that. It's an absolutely free service that both York and Adams County provide. And you don't need to be the property owner to sign up for that service. So this is great for our senior citizens out there who have children that you want to make sure that you're protecting your parents from these scammers of happening. And unfortunately, a lot of these vacant land parcels tend to be owned by our senior citizens who've owned it for a very long time. They may no longer live in the area. That's who they're targeting in these scams. So I would highly encourage you if you go to the York County Recorder of Deeds website or the Adams County Recorder of Deeds website, wherever the property that you want to watch over is located, go there, sign up for that free notification service. So that way, if someone does try to refinance, take out a home equity loan, whatever it is, transfer the property, you would get notification of that. And the sooner that you are aware, it isn't going to stop it. Let's just be clear that those, nefarious activities can still occur. But if they do occur, you're going to be notified right away. And the sooner you're notified, the easier it's going to be to untangle that web and make sure you take action. Normally we say within 48 hours is when you need to respond to these issues before to really catch someone in the act of doing so. So make sure that you're signing up for this free records notification service. Sign up your parents' properties. Let everybody in your family know. I've signed up everybody in my family so that we can get notified if someone tries to record a mortgage, tries to transfer a deed, whatever it is, so that we can get notified and take action right away.
Yeah, that's so great. I'll probably be able to put links in the show notes for folks that are watching this. I feel like that's so important with us living in the world we live in today. It's better to be forewarned, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and there was a case that I believe it was in York County, and what happened there was the property owners passed away, and scammers pretended to be the owner of record of the property, even though that it was now owned by the estate of the previous property owner. They pretended to be the actual property owner who was deceased, and they transferred the property. But because they were so fast to be on the case and realized that there was a recording that was done that wasn't legitimate, they were able to get it reversed and taken care of within, 2 weeks time, as opposed to imagine if they hadn't had that record notification service available to them, this could have been months, even years before maybe the estate goes to sell the property and they had no idea that there was a new owner on the property because their deceased parents signed and sold for it 2 weeks after they passed away. So it's just, it's really just a great service out there. So particularly if you have a family member who has passed away, unfortunately, immediately sign up for the records notification service because that's another area they're targeting is deceased individuals trying to pose as them before someone realizes that they're deceased.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such great advice. So, I mean, you've been in the world of real estate for 2 decades, longer, I think, right? A little over. So you've been in this space. Have you seen like, do you have any personal stories where this affected you?
Fortunately, not for me personally, but, it's heartbreaking when you have these phone calls from consumers, you have these phone calls from realtors who've been taken advantage of, but for 20 years, real estate has just been the target of so many different scams out there, and my best advice to everybody, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, and go with that. If all of a sudden you got that phone call from someone who you have never heard of, they don't have any connections with you, it came out of the blue. Hey, I just saw you on the internet. I thought you'd be the perfect person to list my, couple hundred acres for sale. And how did they get in contact with you? If it seems to be good to be true, it probably is. Make sure that you're doing all of the due diligence to ensure that the people who are contacting you are who they say that they are.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, do you have any events coming up that, any promotions or anything like that that, would be open to the public?
Yes. So at RAYAC, we're very much involved with ensuring that the housing needs are met for all the citizens in our community. So we are hosting a homeless outreach event. This is going to be the sixth year that we've hosted this event. It's going to be at Asbury United Methodist Church in downtown York. It's on October 23rd. And what we do is we bring in all of the community service providers for the near homeless or at homeless population, where they can all come in and meet with those different service providers and get their needs met. And we also offer different things like flu shots, haircuts. We've had in the past vendors who are looking for job employment that they might be able to apply for a job while they're there. You can go shopping in our store. We collect donations from our members for things like clothing and hygiene products, and those individuals can come and do some shopping and get what they need for their basic life skills. And we give them a hot lunch, some snacks to go. And one of the things that surprised me when we first started doing this event is one of the main prohibitors that our population was seeing in either to be able to get a job or get housing was they no longer had identification. So they didn't have state issued IDs any longer. They didn't have their birth certificates. They lost them through for a variety of different reasons. What this event does is we bus people down to, PennDOT so they can get state issues IDs. We pay for them, so that they can have those IDs, which are so important that many of us take for granted. We don't realize that this is one of the barriers to getting a job, to get housing, is you need identification in order to be able to do so, and this event provides that to those individuals who may need it. So
Wow, that's amazing. Are you still collecting donations for that?
yes, we have an Amazon wish list that we have put out there that we've shared with our members and members of the public who might want to donate to help fund our store so that those individuals who are coming through can make sure that the things that they need are available to them that day.
That's amazing. What a great program.
Yes, it's, very heartwarming, and we've had people who have left there with their state issued IDs, and they're like, "You changed my life today. I'm gonna be able to go get a job. This is gonna be you have no idea how much this impacted me." So it really is a life-changing event that day and it takes a lot of volunteers to come together and make it happen, but it truly does make a difference.
That's awesome. So, like, you're so passionate, about our community. Where did you grow up? Are you local to York County?
I am not, and isn't the phrase, "If you weren't born here, you're not really a York Countyan," but I love York County. I actually grew up, though, in Schuylkill County, so about an hour and a half north of here. I went to a very small school called Tri Valley, and So when I first moved to York, the closest gas station where I grew up was 25 minutes away. It was a very rural farming community. There was mountains you had to travel over. So my dad was always very adamant. We never let the gas tank get on E because there's none close by. So you have to be sure you're always at a half tank because you had that problem. But I love living in York. I think it's such a fantastic area to raise children in. We have access to so many parks and recreation opportunities. It's just everything you need is here. I think it's fabulous.
I agree. I agree, wholeheartedly. So what brought you to York?
It's actually my job. So when my undergrad was in economics from Dickinson College, and then I was going to grad school at Penn State, and while I was going to grad school in Penn State, I was working for a Remax company in Hershey. So during the day, I worked for the Remax company in Hershey. I did their marketing website, some of their accounting and book work, and I was going to grad school full time in the evening to get my master's degree. And right when I was finishing up my master's degree, there became a job available at the Realtors Association of York and Adams Counties in Government Affairs. And I was like, this sounds too good to be true because my graduate work was in government affairs and my current professional career was in real estate. So I knew everything that those realtor members were doing every single day. So it was a perfect opportunity for me. And I've been here since.
Like, everything's connected, they say it's hard that you have to live your life moving forward because it doesn't make sense unless you're looking backwards, but, like, everything just aligned to the path that you're on now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and I was fortunate when I moved here, I didn't really know anybody, but I played volleyball in college, and I knew that York County was this volleyball mecca, and there was all these volleyball opportunities here, and so I just started asking around. I'm like, "Hey, I'd like to get on a volleyball team because I don't know anybody, and I'm 24 years old. How do I meet people? I'd love to go play volleyball." So I found a connection through a colleague who had a friend who had a volleyball team. They're like, "Hey, he's looking for another female player." And I said, "Great, sign me up." And so I started playing volleyball at the Jewish Community Center in York. And it just so happened my future husband was on that team. So I met my future husband all through these random connections through York County and volleyball. So that worked out well for me.
Yeah, I love that, I love that. Now you have little ones, right?
I do. They're not so little anymore. My youngest actually turned 10 yesterday. So I can't believe they're both in double digits. So I have a 12-year-old boy and a 10-year-old boy. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, so my son's birthday was yesterday.
Oh, fun.
That's crazy. Yeah, yeah, he's
You know what's even crazier?
just turned 21, so,
Oh, 21. Well, here's a fun fact. Out of all the Fortune 500 companies out there, the most common birthday month for the CEOs is September.
that's interesting.
Yes. Yes, because typically September birthdays are the kids who are the oldest in their class, and so they tend to be the leaders in their class just because of their birth dates, and so I always tell my husband, I'm like, "Well, odds are in his favor, he's gonna be a CEO one day."
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, interesting. So and now they're active as well, right? T-ball, baseball. Yeah, not T-ball, that's younger.
Yes, so we have so many sports. They both play baseball. My 10-year-old plays soccer. My 12-year-old plays basketball as well, and he just started playing volleyball. So we're very excited to get another volleyball player in the family. And they both do flag football. So we are just constantly at sporting events. That's what we do. Our weekends or evening are filled with sporting events, but we wouldn't have it any other way. So
Yeah, yeah. You're a family of athletes. I love that. Stay active, stay healthy, that's the way to go.
keeps you out of trouble too. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So is there anything you guys like to do, when you're not at sporting events?
Oh, that is a great question. I feel like we are at sporting events a lot, but when we're not at their sporting events, like, for example, this past weekend, we went to see the York Revolution. They are in the Atlantic League playoffs, so if you don't know that, the York Revolution is the minor league ball team here in York, or it's an independent league, but, it's professional baseball. It's called the Atlantic League. York Revolution in 2024 was the Atlantic League champions. We were actually at their game when they won. Awesome. Now they're working to defend their title this year. They just defeated the Lancaster Stormers, and we love when we beat Lancaster County at anything. So it's awesome that York Revolution have they won the best out of 5 series this past week, and we were there for one of the games, and now they're going into the championship series to defend their title. Not sure yet who they're going to play, but that's this weekend, this Saturday, if anybody's interested in cheering on your home local team. So when we're not at our kids' sporting events, we're going to Phillies games, Revolution baseball games, we're going to Eagles football games. That's what we spend a lot of time doing.
Well, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your time with us today and going over all of that. So if folks wanted to donate to the event coming up, or if they just wanted to get in touch with RAAC, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably the best thing for them to do would go to our website, raac.com, or they can reach us via email, staff, staff at raac.com. And we would be more than happy to talk to them about how they can donate and get involved in our homeless outreach.
Awesome. We've promised everybody we would share the most surprising scam. So before we end, we have to know, like, what is it and how can we protect ourselves?
Oh, you know what? I actually have 2 for you, Casey. So the first one is going to be consumer-based. So what we are seeing that is consumer-based is that we will have realtors who list properties for sale. And then scammers will take that listing information and put it onto different websites like Facebook Marketplace and say that the property is for rent. And then they're saying it's for rent at a very reasonable rate. And everything is done through technological communications. They send in, first month's rent, security deposit. They're like, I'll meet you at the door and exchange the keys on this date and time. Unfortunately, there have been a ton of consumers who've fallen for this and lost those security deposits and first month's rent because they thought it was legitimate. They thought that they were with a realtor and they were not. So literally in one of these cases, the realtor who listed the property for sale was actually there showing the property that day to prospective buyers. And these tenants who thought that they had legitimately rented the property pulled up with a moving van else and were going to start moving their stuff in. So for consumers, when you are looking to lease property, my biggest advice to you is if you're finding it on these different websites like Facebook Marketplace, do some research for. If that property is listed for sale and you find it on another website like realtor.com and it's listed for sale, call the listing agent directly. Don't use the phone numbers and the communications that you're getting off of the other place where you saw it for rent. Call that listing agent directly and make sure it is, in fact, available for rent and it is a legitimate rental listing. This has happened so much in our community. So many people have lost money there. So as a prospective tenant, you have to protect yourself that these are legitimate lease listings that you're going after and that you don't lose any money there. So please do that if you're looking to lease a property.
Wow, I hadn't heard of that one. That's crazy.
Yes, and it makes it all look very legitimate because there's pictures of the house that the scammers have because the property is listed for sale by an actual real estate agent. So they have access to all of the house pictures and they're posing it as if it's a rental listing and it really isn't. So make sure you're researching and that the property isn't actually listed for sale. And if it's listed for sale and for rent at the same time, that doesn't happen very frequently. So it's most likely a scam.
Insane. Yeah, that's great advice.
Go ahead. The other one is for my real estate friends. So there is a brand new scam that is targeting real estate agents. And what it is that they are posing as prospective buyer and they have a lot of money in digital currency and they start to try to develop these really great relationships with you. They sound like they are very knowledgeable on financial investments and they'll talk to you about how great and how much money they made in this digital currency and how this has made them the wealth that they have today. And here's how you can get started, etc. So what they do then is they entice these real estate agents into giving us a very small nominal amount to invest in this digital currency. They have these websites set up that look very, very legitimate. So the realtor's like, okay, you know what? It's $100, it's $200. Just to appease this, my client, I'm going to invest the $100, $200 in their digital currency website. And they do that. And then they get a return on their investment that's 5 or 10-fold what they put in. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is like fantastic. I can't believe that this very small investment turned into this thousands of dollars back to me. Well, now I'm really sold on this idea. I'm going to put more money in now. And then they invest more money in, and then that's when they get you and they clear out your bank account.
Oh, no.
So it has happened to one of the realtors in our community who lost thousands of dollars in this scam, but it isn't just locally. This is a scam that is targeting real estate agents across the country. So again, be vigilant, do your homework. They become so sophisticated with these. It looks legitimate, but if someone is developing this fast, furious relationship with you, once, thinks that comes across as being very knowledgeable over these investments, tries to entice you with this idea, you just put in a small amount, you're going to get a lot back. Be very, very leery, because this has happened time and time again across our country, targeting real estate agents. Do your research. Trust your gut. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Wow. Great advice. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that. Very knowledgeable, and we definitely appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your, Casey, and spreading the word.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that wraps up another episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more great stories and tips soon. Bye.
Bodacious Estate Conversations isn't just chatter. It's about learning, taking action, and finding solutions that actually work. If today's episode resonated, share your thoughts, subscribe, leave a review, and pass it along to someone who could use a hand. More stories, smart strategies, and practical guidance are coming in the next episode. Don't miss it.